questions are now in some random order. And I pulled out the idea that says skills trump wills. I don't know if that's number 3, number 4. Which number is that? 4. Number 4. Skills trump wills. And it says here I'm supposed to tell you a story about knowledge base. So we'll start there. I have been part of a lot of startup ventures. That's all I've ever done since I was a graduate student, and a lot of them happened while I was here in grad school. One of those ventures is a ministry called Knowledge Base. Knowledge Base seeks to teach informally, and it seeks to educate and empower through the creation of content that enhances how we read, write, count, lead, solve problems, and think. And I separate thinking and solving problems because thinking, critical thinking, is pondering at a deep enough level where you can understand and embrace a solution before people even recognize the problem, and then you can go forth and offer that solution. And then when other people discover that problem, they'll come to you and they'll say, okay, how should we do this? I started Knowledge Base in 1998, and very early on discovered that the one thing that was going to allow me to survive as a one-man band, if you will, was skills. I was going to have to know how to pretty much do everything that I was going to set out to do. And in the earliest days, the first thing I thought of was a camp. So I said, okay, well, if I'm going to run a camp, I've got to be able to identify liabilities and protection for that liability. I got to cover accidents that the kids might get in. Got to make sure I'm teaching them something compelling. I got to make sure I can manage my staff. I got to make sure I can raise money. And setting out to manage each of those tasks largely by myself made it incumbent on me to never waste any time and to always make sure that I had know-how. Now that's a lesson in entrepreneurship that I carried with me later on when I took on formal employment and things which you'll probably hear about a little while later. And I've noticed, and this is commentary, but I've noticed that there seems to not be quite the same emphasis on learning how to that there might be on creating the appearance that you know how to. So what I'll say before moving on to the next idea is I'll tell any of you who are students, because we're all either current or future students. That's just how I see the world. You got to know how to, and you got to assume that if you don't know how to, one day somebody's going to pull your card. You don't want your card to get pulled in a job interview. You don't want your card to get pulled in a job. You don't want your card to get pulled in a job performance review. You don't want your card to get pulled by your kids, whether it be the kids that you teach or the kids in your household who call you mama, daddy. You got to know how. And nobody exposes a lack of know-how like children. If you have children of your own, or if you've been a child, you're probably all in one of those categories. Children have a way of kind of seeing through what's real and what's not. And some of the most rewarding lessons that I've ever learned have actually originated in a situation where I was a teacher. And you want to maintain that humility about yourself so that you become an even greater teacher by remembering that you're always the foremost student.